If you believe that buying a house will make you rich, you are about to discover one of the biggest financial misconceptions in modern history. My name is Charlie Munger. I'm 99 years old, and I have billions of dollars. For more than 30 years of my life, I rented my primary residence. Not because I lacked money. I was already a multimillionaire at the time. I rented because the math told me to rent. While my neighbors were signing 30-year mortgages, paying taxes, maintenance, and convincing themselves they were building wealth, I was investing the same money in businesses and assets that grew at rates of 15 to 20% per year. The difference between my finances and theirs perfectly illustrates why most people never achieve financial freedom. Let's start with the basics. How much does a $400,000 house really cost today? Most people think $400,000 is the final cost, but that's only the beginning of the story. First, you put down 20%, which means $80,000 that is no longer available to invest. Then you finance $320,000 at a 7% annual interest rate for 30 years. That creates a monthly payment of $2,129, which over 30 years totals $766,440, with $446,140 of that being interest alone. You've paid for the house almost twice. But we're not done yet. Property taxes average about 1.1% of the home value per year. On a $400,000 house, that's $4,400 per year, or roughly $180,000 over 30 years. Homeowners insurance, which many underestimate, costs about $1,500 per year, adding up to $45,000 over 3 decades. Maintenance and repairs are inevitable. The rule of thumb is to spend 1 to 3% of the home's value per year on maintenance. Let's be conservative and say 1.5%, which is $6,000 annually, or $180,000 over 30 years. And that doesn't even include bigger problems that always happen. A new roof for $15,000, a new HVAC system for $8,000, foundation issues that can reach $25,000 or more. If you live in a condo or planned community, you'll also pay HOA fees, usually between $200 and $500 per month. That adds another $72,000 to $180,000 over 30 years. Utility bills are generally higher for homeowners than renters because houses are larger and less efficient, adding between $36,000 and $72,000 over 30 years. Finally, don't forget the buying and selling costs. Closing fees, realtor commissions, and legal expenses can total around $50,000 across transactions. Adding it all up, you will spend approximately $1.45 million to own a house that cost $400,000. And that's assuming nothing goes wrong, you stay in the same place, there's no housing market crash, and no personal crises that force an early sale. Here's the really painful part, the opportunity cost. What could you have done with that money instead? That $80,000 down payment, if invested at a conservative 10% annual return, would become roughly $1.4 million in 30 years. Additionally, the difference between your $2,129 mortgage payment and a $1,500 rent payment, $629 per month, invested at 10% annually, would grow to around $1.3 million. In total, by buying that house, you're giving up approximately $2.7 million in investment returns that could have created real wealth and financial freedom. The house might be worth $600,000 after 3 decades, but the money you didn't invest would have grown exponentially, creating true financial independence. Most people don't see this because they are blinded by the American dream myth. Everyone believes buying a house is building wealth, but it isn't. It's one of the biggest expenses a person can have. The real estate industry profits from every transaction. Realtors earn huge commissions. Banks make money on mortgage interest, and the government incentivizes home ownership with tax deductions. On top of that, there's a powerful psychological bias. People who bought homes need to justify their decision. They tell themselves they are building equity, when in reality, they are consuming wealth. Many confuse net worth with real wealth. Yes, you might have a $600,000 house on paper, but can you spend it? Not unless you sell it, and then you'll need another home or rent somewhere else. Real wealth is liquid assets that generate income. A home you live in generates zero income. It only consumes resources. Buying a house only makes sense in very specific situations. For example, if you are absolutely certain you'll live in the same place for 10 to 15 years, the transaction cost can be spread over time. Another valid situation is if you can buy well below market value, like foreclosures or distressed properties. House hacking is also a smart strategy. Buy a duplex, triplex, or multifamily property, live in one unit, and rent out the others. If the rental income covers your mortgage, taxes, and maintenance, you're essentially living for free while building equity. Buying a home is reasonable only if the cost is very low relative to rent, or if you've already achieved financial independence and can buy in cash without giving up investment opportunities. For everyone else, especially under 50, buying a primary residence is often the biggest obstacle to becoming truly wealthy. There are far more effective ways to build wealth than buying a primary residence. Renting and investing aggressively is the first. Find a place that costs 30% to 50% less than a mortgage would and invest the difference every month. House hacking is another powerful strategy. Buy a multifamily property, live in one unit, and rent the rest. After a few years, you can repeat the process, acquiring multiple income-producing properties. Geographic arbitrage works very well too. Work remotely for a high-paying company while living in a low-cost city or country. If you earn $100,000 a year and live somewhere rent is $800, you can save and invest over $50,000 annually. In 10 years, you'll accumulate significant wealth and achieve financial independence far earlier. Investing in real estate investment trusts, REITs, is another way to gain real estate exposure without the headaches and costs of ownership. You receive monthly dividends, maintain full liquidity, and don't worry about maintenance, broken roofs, or plumbing issues. Buying land instead of structures can also generate profits. Land appreciates over time and requires little maintenance. Investing in businesses or index funds is even more effective. Money you put into a house could earn 20 to 50% annually in successful businesses, or roughly 10% annually consistently in index funds. Compared to the 3 to 4% appreciation of houses in most markets, the choice is clear for those seeking wealth accumulation. Let me tell you a story to illustrate this. In the 1970s, I had a neighbor who bought a house for $80,000 with a mortgage. I rented and invested the same money he put into the house. For decades, he proudly showed me his increasing home equity, his lawn, and home improvements. I would listen and smile. 30 years later, he had a paid-off home worth $350,000, while my investments had grown to around $15 million. Same income, same city, completely different outcomes. The difference wasn't effort or luck, it was understanding opportunity cost. He focused on ownership, I focused on growing liquid assets. The point is this: buying a house is consumption disguised as investment. If you understand that, you can make conscious financial decisions. If you are still in the phase of building wealth, the smartest choice is to rent, save, and invest aggressively. The house can be purchased later with cash once you've achieved financial freedom. This allows you to live off your investments, enjoy life, and make choices based on desire, not financial necessity. Buying a house can also carry hidden risks. Job changes, economic crises, unexpected maintenance costs, or personal problems can turn the dream of homeownership into a financial nightmare. Even when everything goes well, the money spent on mortgages, taxes, and maintenance could have earned millions in liquid, accessible investments. A home doesn't generate income until it's rented, and each repair or HOA fee further reduces the return on money spent. It's also important to realize that social pressure reinforces this decision. Everyone around you seems to believe buying a house is the right path, and most traditional financial advice still promotes it. But you need to ask yourself, do you want a house, or do you want financial freedom? For most young people, you can't have both. Choosing a house now means spending your prime years paying for something that generates little financial return. Choosing to invest means building wealth, achieving independence early, and having real freedom of choice throughout your life. Over the years, I've watched thousands of people make this mistake. They work until their 70s paying mortgages and taxes, when they could have reached freedom at 50 or 55, living off their investments and doing what they want. The house they buy doesn't provide income. It only occupies space and consumes resources. The American dream myth ensures they continue believing they made the right choice. So, if you are under 50, still building wealth, and don't have millions invested, don't buy your primary residence. Rent something modest, invest the difference, practice intelligent asset-building strategies, and only buy the house later with cash. Make it a conscious and strategic decision. Understand the true cost of every financial decision and the impact of opportunity cost. With this approach, you not only accumulate wealth but also maintain flexibility and freedom throughout your life. If you share this perspective with others, you can help them understand that home ownership is not the key to wealth. Real wealth comes from liquid assets that grow and produce income, not bricks and mortar. Buying a home too early is exchanging financial freedom for temporary psychological comfort. Make your choices wisely, invest with discipline, and focus on building assets that truly increase your net worth and freedom.